Hey guys, what's the crack? My name's Ross. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today you're joining me from Newtonards in County Down, Northern Ireland. I'm standing on the top of a very windy Scrabo hill, and that right there behind me, looming in the background, is Scrabo Tower. About 6 months ago, I made a video on my YouTube channel testing out 3 vintage minolta ROKKOR lenses, and you can check that video out if you click up here. The link should appear. Anyway, in that previous video, I attached those 3 vintage lenses onto my Fujifilm X-T4, which has an APS-C sized sensor. If you know anything about cameras, you'll know that if you put a full frame lens on a crop sensor camera, you only really see the middle part of what the lens can truly capture. And one of the main reasons for buying vintage lenses in the first place is that the softening of the edges and the vignettes around the corner and just all of the character that a vintage lens brings. So fast forward to today, and I've brought those same 3 vintage minolta ROKKOR lenses with me in my Hung Supply Sidewalk Sling, and I'm going to attach them to my full frame camera, the LUMIX S52X, and test them out to their full potential. So just as a refresher, if you haven't seen that previous video, I'll show you what the lenses are. The first one is this here. It's the minolta MC TELE ROKKOR PF lens. It has a maximum aperture of f2.8 and it is 135 millimeters, so kind of like a telephoto lens. And it has this cool little sun hood, lens hood type thing here. The next lens is the wide angle. It's the MC W.ROKKOR SG. It has a maximum aperture of 3.5 and it is a 28 millimeter lens. This is the one I'm probably most excited to try out on my full frame camera, because on the X-T4, you know, having the APS-C size sensor, it made this 28 millimeter more like a 40 millimeter or 35 or I don't know, something like that. But I'm really excited to see the full width of this 28 millimeter wide angle vintage lens. The third and final lens I have here is the minolta MC ROKKOR PF 58 millimeter lens with a maximum aperture of f1.4. It's kind of like a nifty 50 of its day, but rather than the plastic nifty 50s that we're used to, it is an absolute beast. It's built like a tank. It's got this incredible milled focus ring. It's got the most beautiful clicking aperture. It's so nice. And this lens cost me £90, under £100. That's just incredible for a lens of this age. I do remember from testing it out in that previous video that wide open this lens does create kind of like a ghosting effect or like a sort of hazy edged effect. Not on purpose, it's just due to the age of this lens, you know, being from the 60s or 70s or however old this lens is. But for a lens this cheap and this age, who can complain? Most people buy and use vintage lenses because of their sharpness, but for me, the real joy of using a vintage lens is in the character that they can create. And by character, I mean the likes of swirly out of focus backgrounds, or weird flares caused by dust trapped in the lens, or vignettes around the edges of a wide open vintage lens. Using a vintage lens creates all of this extra character that would be next to impossible to try and recreate in post. In fact, you probably wouldn't even think to create it in post in the first place, but using a vintage lens, you know, you get that character. What I like to do is turn on focus peaking. I turn it on red and high, and that means that when I pull focus with the focus ring, whatever turns red, I know that thing will be in focus. Even with focus peaking, not every photograph that you take with a manual focus lens will be in focus, but it's quite a good guide to help you get, you know, most of the way there. So I guess there's only one thing left to do, and that is to smash these 3 vintage minolta ROKKOR lenses onto my full frame LUMIX S52X camera via an adapter and walk about this area taking a few example photographs with each lens. If you're out there and you use ROKKOR lenses or any vintage lenses and you have any tips for me, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Anyway, enjoy these photographs I'm gonna walk back down this hill and heat up because I'm absolutely freezing. So I've taken a few photographs with the 135 and now I've just thrown on the 28mm vintage lens onto the LUMIX S52X, and already I'm enjoying shooting with this 28mm lens far more than when I did with the Fujifilm X-T4 in that previous video. It must be the full frame sensor of this camera that's given me so much extra width, so much extra depth. I'm gonna shoot a little bit more with the 28mm and then I'm gonna move to the 58 and then that should be me. So enjoy. And I'm going to attach them. Oh, shit. I got blowed off.